Welcome friends. Today we have with us Miss Jyotika Kalra, and Miss Jyotika had been a lawyer in Supreme Court and advocate on record, which is a very distinguished recognition for the lawyers who are practicing in Supreme Court. She had been virtually all over. I was reading about her from NHRC's source. Right now, she is since April 2017 member of National Human Rights Commission. Now, the position of a member of National Human Rights Commission is equivalent to a High Court judge.
Supreme Court.
Sorry, Supreme Court.
Supreme Court judge.
Right. This is again a distinguished achievement which she has achieved, and she is doing. I can tell you, I am standing counsel of NHRC, so I can tell you all. She is doing a wonderful job as a member over there. She is superlatively active, and in fact, her presence has made a lot of difference in the activities. NHRC is right now going so active on social media also, and they are actively involved on the platform of social media when things have to be done online due to this pandemic. I can talk a lot about Jyotika. She had been a firebrand lawyer. She had been a firebrand crusader when it comes to women's rights. She had filed several PIL in Supreme Court. She had taken up a case of, a channel to be provided for the makeup artist in cine industry. And that I can tell you must be one case which should be very, very dear to Jyotika when it comes to, a lawyer has to tell because there was no such avenue open for them to have a channel and access something which is streamlined already. She is a part-time lecturer, had been a part-time lecturer in Faculty of Law, University of Delhi and IP College, Delhi University. She has been in various forums raising the issues relating to women, children, LGBTI, trafficking, reproductive rights of women. And under her leadership, several workshops have been conducted. She had written books, and she had been recognized and felicitated by Supreme Court of India. She has been felicitated by the National Commission for Women in 2014 as an outstanding woman. So her achievements deserves a good round of applause from all of us. So welcome, Jyotika. Without consuming much more time from you, Jyotika would be talking about the women leadership and women to be in the leadership position to deal with the issues relating to women. So I'll hand it out to Jyotika, to you, and all over to you. Thereafter, we'll pose questions once you finish. Welcome, Jyotika.
How much time, Shobha?
I believe this is 4:34 right now. So you can touch up to 4:55. If you want to go beyond, you can please.
Okay, so it's 20 minutes, huh?
Yep.
Okay. So thank you, Shobha, and thank you so very much. And I think whatsoever Shobha has talked about me, I would reciprocate everything for Shobha too. I mean, because we had been practicing together in the Supreme Court. So crusader, yes, she also had been, and she continues to be a crusader. So it is pleasure that I'm on this platform, which is there for women and which discusses about the issues pertaining to women. And this topic, we were discussing about this platform, or we were discussing, me and Shobha were discussing about the functioning of National Human Rights Commission and so many other things. So this came up, that why do we keep discussing about crime against women, harassment of women, discrimination of women, discrimination against women? Let us think something, which can be, which is more positive, like when we are discussing something which can yield better placement for the women, better position for the women. Why should women, you always be treated as somebody who needs help, who needs protection? When any person, anybody on this earth is in a position, is in that vulnerable position that she needs help, or she or he needs help, protection, then you can't think of getting results from that person. I mean, because ultimately, you are being valued for what you bring on the table. So that is what your value is, that if you keep asking that I have been discriminated upon, I have been harassed, tortured, etc., etc., there is a limit. Society can only have mercy upon you and can help you. But society is not going to treat you as somebody who is there to lead. So when we are talking about the condition of women, there is another perspective also to look into this issue. And that perspective says that let the women be there in the leadership positions. Let us talk about the requirement, necessity of women to be in the leadership positions. And the title of this talk says that once that is ensured, that women in leadership is ensured, it itself would be a panacea to the discrimination against women, that it would be an all-time solution to discrimination against women. And I mean, when we talk of women, so that we talk of families at first, the family is come first, by referring to women. So Aristotle had said that state is a union of society and family. So state is nothing but it is a union of society and family. And then this the concept of leadership is a process of growing, process of changing, and process of becoming more advanced and taking the society along. That's how that leadership is being treated. And women, when we talk of women, basically, so the first inference which we draw about women is, they are delicate, they are homely, they are compromising, they are caregiver, they are soft. So when I say this, there may be certain persons who will say that, yes, ma'am, whatever you're saying is correct. And some may say that it's incorrect. And some may say that it can be both ways. So not going through that argument, but broadly, I'm speaking that broadly, this is what the stereotype may be a negative one. This is what, the women is being considered as generally by the society, or which we call, and this is how it comes up culturally, and the family values, etc., etc., etc. Having said that, and I feel so bad about it, that R is a country of the overqualified housewives. R is a country which stops in the overqualified housewife. We do not stand much, but as far as overqualified housewives is concerned, our country is at the top. And we educationally, academically, National Sample Survey 2014-15 had found that against every 100 men, there are 85 women in the higher education. So as far as education is concerned, women is quite at par with the men. But as far as the workplace or economic activity is concerned, it is the situation is not that rosy. The National Family Health Survey of 15-16 had said that the working women who's paid for their work fell 4% points over the past decade to 24.6%. So there is a decline in the women in the economic sector or the workforce participation. We have, as I said, that, and we come across this situation. People may agree, because when I discuss with them, they say, no, it doesn't happen like that. Nowadays, the girls are not like that. But I know in my own family, in my own circle, the chartered accountant girls, MTech girls, doctor girls, lawyers, obviously, after marriage, the very first pregnancy makes them sit home, and then the entire family says it is her choice, and it is her choice, and she's getting satisfaction out of it. So who are we to tell her that she should not? But that pinches me, that when a man of this much qualification sits at home, can the society just say that it is choice and let us forget it? So the society, endorses that this concept of women sitting at home, and because of these reasons, that so qualified, so intelligent and best of the lot girls also opt to sit back at home. And I was listening to Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, who is the founder of AT, and he said that as an economy, we won't grow if we treat every woman by default as a homemaker. So economy to grow, or the leaders, I mean, when I'm saying, when we started with the leadership, so, that leadership of each woman adds to the development of the nation, of economy to grow. he said, when we start by default a women as a homemaker, then forget it. The economy is not going to grow. So, I mean, so having said that, there is a need, there is a need to discuss something else about the women rather than always keep discussing about the security, the public spaces, private spaces, sexual harassment, all those things. They are the reality, but that reality can also take a back seat once we find more women at the leadership position, more women who are heading the institutions, more women which is the heading the workplaces which are more sensitive and which are more uh, rational towards the women at the workplace. So I mean, and why it's so, as I said, that girls keep sitting at home, opt to sit back at home, because generally the society norms or the cultural norms are that women at work or in the economic activity or at leadership position, although the leadership position will come quite subsequent to her having joined the economic sphere, will adversely affect the family system. So one has to overcome that this can be possible when a man, performer, a leadership position, a politician can manage his family. Why can't a woman? Why can't we have that kind of a situation where the woman is equally managing both the fronts, family as well as her own personal grooming, professionalism, and activism? So then women by and large are dependent upon men for various reasons, and as a consequence thereof, we find that the mainstream very much remains a male stream. And I say so because there are some basic things. We may say, people, I have found educated people, smart people saying, no, no, madam, there is no discrimination against women. I also don't insist that there is discrimination or there is no discrimination, but there are two, three few points with which I'll say that do you still say that there is no discrimination? And the one first point is preference for a baby boy. It continues. It is still continuing. Despite the laws, despite everything, we hardly find the families where, first daughter, okay, but second daughter is, like, okay, we can adjust. But third daughter, they say, I have heard professionally qualified people that it is a genuine problem to get our sex determined because this is the third time and we can't afford. So that preference for women, and crime against women also, that's also a concern. At the National Human Rights Commission, I keep receiving complaints, and I find most of the complaints, sexual assault, rape, or outraging the modesty, are being committed upon the girls, females. So one of the reasons is that it is being considered as a weaker sex or an inferior sex. And similarly, even the married women, they also come across these kinds of uh, uh, cruelty against them, which has penal consequences. And not only that, the domestic violence against the women in the families, the crime against women, harassment of women for dowry. So that continues. And it's all, I think, the reason being that women is being considered as an or inferior and a weaker sex. I'm saying so to make everybody understand this is also discrimination. I mean, when you say there is no discrimination, so at least go by the NCRB data, and you will come to know as to how many girls commit suicide after marriage. And this can also be compared with, I don't say that the husbands do not suffer or they do not commit suicide. There are examples of the husbands also committing suicide. So let us compare both as to what is the percentage of females committing suicide and what is the percentage of males committing suicide and after marriage. And then abysmal representation of women at every level. Supreme Court, Attorney General had mentioned before, the Chief Justice of India, and high courts, in the parliament. It is like almost parliament, it is the maximum, the best is Lok Sabha, 14.5, Rajya Sabha it is 11, and we have only just one Supreme Court judge right now, no Chief Justice up till now. So that data is, and the managerial position, only 3% women at the managerial position. So it's all, it shows that this is there before everybody. So either you may say that the women are incapable, and incapable, when I say, I don't deny that they are incapable, because they are not exercising an opportunity of performance. You don't become capable overnight. For becoming capable, you need so many things. You need qualification, you need hard work, you need perseverance, and you need that passion, and only then you can be considered for those leadership positions. So reasons may be any, but yes, this is the situation, this is the position. The mindset of the society considers that women is not capable of handling those important positions. Women is not capable of becoming a member of parliament or a Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, maybe. That's at the back of their mind. So the opportunities are not being given. And I go further, that like uh, women, the condition of women can be improved first. I think poverty is a big challenge to the realization of. And when I'm talking about leadership, I am not referring to a very small niche group of that society. I'm taking into fold the women from the rural background, from the urban background, from everywhere, educated, non-educated. I mean, from anywhere and everywhere. So to begin with, to have more women in the leadership position, poverty alleviation is one of the step towards in furtherance of that. So and because the mindset is such, because the women is not being considered capable of performing, there is a need, I think, because we have already traveled after independence so many years, 74 years, and after having adopted our constitution, it is more than 70 years. So if the things have not come, despite legislature, despite such a wonderful constitution, that means something more needs to be done, and the constitution provides for it. Positive discrimination against women, Article 15.3. So the reservation is a way forward, that give compulsorily appoint women at the institutions, and like in Uttar Pradesh there's a reservation, and it's all women in leadership. The reservation for women in the judicial appointments, reservation of women in the police, and what to talk of political leadership, which is the core of, or the genesis of entire leadership, because generally people consider leadership as only the political leadership, but I said there are many other ways of leadership, but primarily the political leadership is also important. 73rd and 74th amendment of constitution, which gave reservation to women in panchayati raj and local self-government bodies, 33% was provided for. Many states have even crossed the limit of 50% reservation for women, and women are really performing very well. That's the reason this number is increasing day by day. Yes, initially there were Panchpati and all that, but now with time, the things have improved quite a lot. The performers, the in the Panchayati Raj system, women are really performing very well. The reservation at the Sarpanch, being a woman, and all those things are acting so well with the state. So, I mean, the bill of Representation of People Act, which had promised for 33% reservation for women in the electoral sphere, including Parliament, Lok Sabha, and the State Legislative Assembly, was at a point of time passed by the Rajya Sabha, but with that Lok Sabha having been abolished, and that bill has also come to an end. But there is a need to reconsider it, and there is a promise. Every political party promises that we will give adequate representation to women. Women is vote as a voter. As of now, women number of women voters are more than the men voters. The percentage of population may be less, but the data have come that women more actively participate in the electoral process. So the political parties must also think of giving more opportunity. Up till that women reservation bill is not passed, the political parties of their own should come forward with giving adequate representation of women in the political leadership. And I would quote this Nobel laureate Esther Duflo, what he talked about women and development. She said that, and I quote, women empowerment and economic development are closely related. In one direction, development alone can play a major role in driving down equality between men and women. In the other direction, empowering women will benefit development. So the women in leadership or empowerment of women will have that exponential effect on the growth or development of the nation as such. And gender is a new driver for growth, has been said by Ijaz Ghani. She is the lead economist at World Bank. So gender is a new driver for growth. And Annette Dixon of World Bank South Asia's vice president had said that at 17% of the GDP, the economic contribution of Indian women is less than half of the global average. It is 40% in China. So India could boost its growth by 1.5 to 9% per year if 50% of the women join the workforce. So this, this economic development doesn't come easily. It takes a lot of toll on you, and it won't come easily even to the women. A lot of hard work and commitment, and then you become capable of contributing to the society, contributing to the system, or bringing something on the table. So. And as I started with that, the discrimination broadly is at the time of birth. Discrimination broadly is at the time of marriage. Even now, a woman or a female is being expected to give dowry in the marriage, and which I say with all my conviction, performance of last rites. Women are not being given that opportunity to perform last rites of their parents. So, to my understanding, the women at leadership position will give that impetus, will give that positivity to the people that yes, my daughter can also be like this. My daughter can be a minister, a chief minister, or IPS or IAS. That kind of a feeling only will encourage people to welcome the daughters. And similarly, a woman or a girl at, with economic decisions at her disposal is certainly in a position to negotiate onto the terms of the money to be spent in the marriages. I mean, dowry to be given in the marriages. And this, I think, empowered women or a women at leadership position will also encourage the society to accept a daughter can also perform, accept with conviction that last rites performed by a daughter will take them to the same place where the last rite performed by a son could have been. And I'll conclude by quoting Jacinda Ardern, the well-known women in leadership globally, Prime Minister of New Zealand, and I quote, one of the criticism I have faced over the years is that I'm not aggressive enough or assertive enough, or maybe somehow because I'm empathetic. It means I'm weak. I totally rebel against that. I refuse to believe that you cannot be both compassionate and strong. And thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyotika. You spoke so well. Now, tell me something like, why don't you tell something about to the listeners who would listen to you right now, or maybe when the recording is uploaded? Did you put up a fight, had to put up a fight to reach where you are today? In your entire journey to become a lawyer or to reach up to here, or it was an easy journey for you?
You know, nothing comes in platter, as I said. It is never like easy or not easy. But I am a sui generis case because my own mother in 19 early 60s, late maybe 19 early 60s, she studied in Jamia Millia Islamia. In that time, she stayed in a hostel in a Muslim university. So I said, I am a sui generis, so that's the background. And then going further, she started working in 1963. She started working. She was a teacher with the NDMC. And going further, my father at that point of time in 1964, when he was to marry, one of his conditions for marriage is that I want a working woman. Like even now, the males have that inferiority complex that why we don't need, I mean, मुझे जरूरत नहीं है types, तो मेरी पत्नी ने या हमारी बहू ने काम क्यों करना है, जरूरत नहीं है, हमें कोई जरूरत नहीं है. So at that time he was so vocal, or he was like, he had his own plannings in mind, that he said I would marry. And it is, you know, not easy with this male dominated society to marry a working woman or to marry an assertive woman. It's really a challenge. And just imagine 60 years before. But I'm talking of the time 60 years before. So that is the background. And not my mother, I mean her life journey didn't stop over there. Then she continued with her maiden name throughout. Till she died, her name was different than my father's name. And she never had, she continued with her maiden name. And the best part as a child, which I can, with the contribution I can give to my mother, is the parenting. She was working and there were very less financial resources. She was also taking tuitions. I mean, it was a very hard life for her. She made both my brother and myself do the household chores. We were doing shopping at a very small age, household works, going to markets. So all that, you know, and she never had any kind of a guilt that I'm working and because of which my small young children have to do household works. She never had that guilt. So whatever, she was always proud of that I'm earning money and that way. But that's not solution to everything. Yes, being a woman, being a female, at different levels. I said this is something which had come to me naturally, but still, and I keep saying people that this society doesn't accept that women sitting and her children working. Even when my boys were growing up, there were young people who tease me by saying, तुम बैठी हुई हो, तुम्हारे बच्चे काम कर रहे हैं, लड़के काम कर रहे हैं. You have to be thick-skinned. And similarly, if your husband is working, you are sitting, or you say that my husband works in kitchen or something like that, you have to be thick-skinned. I mean, because society is not, society as it is doesn't like it. So yes, you have to take that challenge, assert at many times, at many point of times. It is difficult for any spouse maybe to considering the mindset of the society, to have dominating wife, to have assertive person, maybe with my boys also. So it keeps happening, and you know, never ever there is a level that I achieved everything. There would always be another challenge or a further challenge. So the new challenges have to be dealt with in a newer manner. But yes, if you are onto it, things will follow, I think. And God, I also believe in destiny. I believe in destiny so strongly that whatever you do, it comes back to you. I mean, I strongly believe in that. So it happens like that also. You keep doing whatever you want. I mean, whatever according to you is good. Keep doing, and you're certainly going to get results. And be passionate and be considerate about others too. Like my journey, when I say women, I had always been thinking of whosoever comes in my journey, because many women, many men had also given me opportunity Wherever I am, it is not only because of my own efforts, my family, my friends, my social circles. So I need to keep giving that back to others. I think that's also one of the way you reach to certain levels.
Can I request you to rejoin immediately once this finishes and everybody, because we are not done with and this meeting somehow going to end at within 2.5 minutes. So would you be kind enough to rejoin the moment it ends with the same ID? Because I believe I have to ask questions and Shubham is looking forward to ask questions. My next question, Jyotika, to you is that what is your suggestion? How do women come up to that leadership role? Like it's one thing to say that that's the panacea of all problems, but how do we attain that? How do we get that?
That is
Some
what
suggestions from your side.
When I shared my journey, I had been indicating on that throughout. First, you have to come out of that guilt that, you know, when I'm working, I had tears in my eyes because I was leaving my small. This leadership demands that you will leave your small children at home. So that you have to overcome that, that kind of a feeling. Number one, you need to balance it out that both can happen and find out a way. And secondly, I would suggest women to have helpers at home, which is a must. And the second thing I wanted to share that the females, women or girls, whatever you may call, they must make a good arrangement for the helps. I mean, persons at home to look after, I mean, caregiver. And you can easily have female caregiver. So not only that your family get adequate care, you would also get adequate care. I mean, your interest would also be taken care of. So be a more, because you are doing something which is different than the societal norm. So you need to be more compassionate also. You need to overcome that, you know, my privacy would be affected or security would be affected. You know that you can work only if you have somebody to take care of the family, somebody to take care of the household chores. And so, you know, overcome that fears and have domestic helps at home. I mean, so that your household necessities or requirements can be taken care of. Come out of the guilt. And at workplace, please ever never discuss your personal things. When, you know, keep discussing, मेरे घर में आज ये हुआ, मेरा वो बीमार है, मैं खराब हुई, मैं सोई नहीं. That the workplace has no value for that. I mean, it should not be. And you should be very professional at your workplace. And when you are at work, you are a lawyer or doctor or engineer, your gender should always take a back seat. It should never overcome. And you should, as far as possible at work, I think, should not bring the gender in between, because when we say it is so because I am a female, I think then that, you know, leadership takes a back seat. Overcome that and face the world as it is, and do whatever you can do, whatever contribution you can make to the organization, to the establishment, bring on the table the results, the productivity. That only is your that only will take you to some important positions.
That's amazing to hear out what you are saying. That's maybe basic, but you know, sometimes, most of the times we do not even pay heed to it, what you are saying, that you are doing something different. So leave your home at home. And two, when you are working, you have to compromise with yourself when it comes to my privacy, my home. I have to take care of all the chores at home. If you keep doing that, then certainly you are not going to give your 100% at the workplace. Give your best at the workplace. Possibly you have to, you know, regroup yourself and be little less at home. Maybe
and your help at home
will also give you care. I mentioned that also. You have a caregiver at home who will take care of many things, but will also take care of you because you are working, you are tired, or you want help, you're sitting, somebody should serve you. So don't expect any of the family member, make an arrangement for that, and that works. So you will also be comfortable at home. I mean, it's not like मैं थक के आई फिर घर में थकी. So you need to rejuvenate when you are sitting at home. So that rejuvenation can come through the helps you can have at home.
That's very valuable what you are suggesting right now, and everybody must notice that. Jyotika, tell me, how has been your experience in National Human Rights Commission? This is one of the very high powered committee and a highly placed committee commission when it comes to human rights, and none equal to none. How has your experience been as a member here, especially as a women member?
I mean, why are you asking this question?
Like you don't like the mention of the women member, or as a member of NHRC, because I am relating it.
No, I'm not saying anything.
I'm relating it to the women issues.
No problem as being a women member. That's not. But why are you asking? What do you want me to share?
Like as the women issues which comes over here, your
one thing and what would you like me to
experience of dealing with them, and how this body contributes to them, if that is something to be divulged, no privilege violation, but something which you feel that as a member of the commission you could contribute to the society when it comes to the women issues.
Look, the point is, my being at National Human Rights Commission, one of the reason is that I was a woman, because as I had been told that Ganeri had suspended the accreditation of the commission because for the last 15 years there was no women on board in this commission. So I mean, that's one of the reasons. It's not that I have come because I was there in the queue to be considered as a member of the commission. I was not. It had come because there was a requirement to have a female members. As I said, for important and leadership positions, generally the women are not considered. And more majorly, the reason given is that they are orte, they are women, they are married, they have children. So all that. So that's one of the reasons. So I had been saying that, yes, discrimination, as you said, you have to take a stand. That is one thing, but you are womenhood also gets you. There is enough space at the top. And I had got so many privileges. I was a member of, I was appointed as independent director for 2 companies because of the reservation the Companies Act had created in favor of women. So women, as a woman, I had been benefited also in commission also because I am a woman. But when I started working over here, and I found that almost 50% of the complaints are by the women. And these complaints, as I said during my talk also, concerning harassment of women, young girls, rapes, gang rapes, or then harassment to domestic violence, dowry deaths, and all those things. So more than 50-60% of the complaints are from the females. I believe that there is a sensitivity attached to the issue. I mean, when I read a case of gang rape, when I read that the victim says that the accused is threatening and they are threatening me to compromise, I think being a woman, I get the sensitivity towards that situation is more. It does. I don't want to hurt anybody by saying that the males cannot have. Yes, they can certainly have, but by default, it is like more. And secondly, what I thought, so I think, and the women-related issues really concern me, and I'm very vocal on that. Even today, the NHRC had a conference with the State Human Rights Commission, It was even there a year before. At that time also, I had made a point that, you know, the National Human Rights Commission, the PHRA Act, had made a provision for a compulsory female members in the composition of the commission. As state human rights commissions are concerned, today I mentioned the same. So it concerns me. Nobody else tells this, that there is no representation of female in the of the females in the State Human Rights Commission, but to me it concerns, and I make it a point. So this I feel that being a woman, I get, and what more I feel that at a National Human Rights Commission, the entire staff, you know, those girls, the employees of the staff, of the females, I'm saying, they really feel good. I mean, interacting with me, and they say yes. Like the member who is in the commission is holding a quite a senior position, so she is a female. I mean, that gives them a little bit of boost, and they come to me personally, madam, hamari ye chutti ki problem hai, bachcha bimar hai, something like that. So that's also something. And as far as the research projects, because commissions has many other functions, section 12, it's not only the complaint handling, but there are other functions also, visiting the jails, visiting, looking into the implementation of the laws, research projects, and doing the assessment of the international covenants. So at commission, I opted to, I did comparative study on the UNCRC, United Nations Children, commission. I mean, I'm just forgetting the name. And CEDAW, right now I'm doing a comparative study on CEDAW, at how far India has. So as I said, it is because I'm a woman, I got this opportunity. I always make it a point that I'm very vocal as far as women issues are concerned. And I never feel, and sometimes I at times, you know, although it's difficult for people to say this, people have this kind of a feeling about me that madam talks about women, or she makes it a point that women issues should be discussed. But I'm vocal, I have no guilt. I think representation is not adequate until we insist for it, until the citizens of this country, female citizens of country, stop lodging the complaints that the accused is threatening me, that I should compromise. Till then, I think the persons who are there at the leadership, women especially on the leadership position, have to be and must be more vocal as far as women issues are concerned.
I believe Shubham, you want to ask question to ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible? Hello. Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Jyotika, ma'am. My question to
Make
you is
yourself visible also.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes.
Good evening, ma'am. My question to you is that the human rights and the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution of India are based on the individual identity and not on the societal identities of a person. So how you, as being the member of National Human Rights Commission, how you deal with when the societal identity of a woman, especially the women or any other person, restricts them from getting the access to justice. So how you deal with that?
It's a very complicated question. Societal entity is not something which can be drawn in black and white. Societal entity
ma'am, because the societal identity, especially with regard to the India, where the whole population is divided into societies, different societies, especially if we name that it is divided on caste, languages, subcaste, and regions. So how you deal that? For some people, it is privilege for being, and for some people, it becomes curse, especially when it comes to access to justice. So how you deal with it, madam?
Shubham, I'm saying your question is very complicated. Societal entity is not something which can be distinguished, which can be identified or in a legal term. which can be given a specific definition. It's a very subjective kind of a feeling. Yes, as you said, I'll try to give some explanation. Like at commission, we do get the complaints about witch hunting, which are, women specific, women being targeted just because she's a woman. We get complaints of majorly of witch hunting. So, and for Dalit women also, the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe women, in those cases, I make it a point that it should be not only left that the people should not conduct themselves in this manner. There should be some awareness program. The DM should involve the religious leaders of the society, the panchayat of the society, and then they must discuss and share the ideas, and awareness should be spread that a particular identity should not be given to women, not only women, to any of the weaker section of the society.
Ma'am, you quoted in the beginning of your speech a quote of Aristotle, where you said that the state is a union of society and family, but where the individual identity lies, because of course this is the statement given, the quote given by the Aristotle is of an ancient nature. So how you see that ancient identity of a society restricts the
individual,
from achieving.
But individual rights have been protected. Constitution provides for the individual right, which says that individual has right of freedom of speech and expression, and similarly the human right also, the definition says equality, liberty, life. So individual rights are protected. The society is not is in any which manner violating the individual rights, maybe of equality or of liberty, then the mechanism is there. And now this great discussion about females' right to choice that had been going on, which we may call as this honor killing, or so that's that has to be respected. And we had this case of Lata Singh versus state of UP, and other cases also. So individual right, the society, what I told about that is also a fact. I quoted somebody. But in this system of family, within that system of family, or individuals' rights are protected by the Constitution as well as by different legislatures.
Ma'am, the UP government has recently had passed, which was a controversial statute that undermines the women's individual identity and links her to the social identity, to her social identity. How and what are your views as a member of National Human Rights Commission?
No, I cannot express my views as a member of National Human Rights Commission, because as I have understood that law has been challenged before the Honorable Supreme Court, and the Honorable Supreme Court has issued notices in that case. So the law will have to stand the scrutiny of the Constitution. If it stands, it's okay. If it doesn't, then it would be struck down. So as a member National Human Rights Commission, when the matter is sub judice, I don't think there is any reason for me to comment upon that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Fair enough as well. Otherwise, also Shubham, this question should not have been asked, because one, it is sub judice, and two, maybe off the record we can discuss it out, but not on the record from any forum. And moreover, when she is actually holding a position there in a commission, which is for all. Right now, commissions does not give their opinion otherwise also on issues of legality and other things. The statute in force, they would go by that. Jyotika, I was just wondering, it would be little bit, Shubham, you have to ask something more?
No, ma'am, I'm finished with my questions.
Thank you so much. You were brilliant in asking. Jyotika, it would be a little digression from the subject we were doing, but just for the sake of information, because we are right now dealing with a few such issues. When you said that you get complaints from women when they say they are being forced to, compromise or withdraw, what action commission can take in that?
Commission always, ask for the report. In every complaint, the commission doesn't start passing orders. It first and foremost asks for the report, or commission sends its investigation division team at the spot to do the spot inquiry. So it can be both, and it can be one of two, but both the things. So based on that report, the commission passes its directions, and one of the direction is always like, what efforts have been taken by the police to ensure the security of that women who will be standing as a witness security. What action, forget about anything and everything about the main case, but what steps have been taken to secure that this witness remains safe. So that's what the commission ensures, either on the report of the police or on the basis of reports of its own investigation division team. And I must also tell you that in many cases, when I'm saying many, I'm saying it on the basis of record. Many cases, the report comes that this matter has been compromised. The complainant has married the accused, or the complainant husband says that it was a property dispute which has been settled. So this also happens in quite a good number of cases. So the rape cases, but I have, which the misunderstanding I had, that a woman is not going to tell lie as far as her integrity is concerned, that, that has been clarified to me after dealing with cases in particular. The reports have come that this has happened. And in some cases, I do ask that, it's a non-compoundable offense. How has it been allowed to compromise? But yes, it's also a fact of the story.
So anybody else have to ask any question? Reena, Alpna ji? No, they are listening carefully, but possibly they do not have a question to be asked. So Jyotika, it has been a wonderful session. I particularly liked 3 of your suggestions. One, come out from your own comfort zone. Be passionate about your work. Leave your home and home problems at home. Don't wear your gender on your sleeves. And if you keep referring to that, you are not coming out of it. Make sure that when you are at workplace, you are reaching to the leadership position also, because that would make a difference not only to you, but to many others. I consider you as a successful woman, a significant achiever, which so many of young girls can aspire to become and to take as a role model. You are an achiever, and you have really come a long way. Thank you so much, Jyotika. It had been.
I would like to add, Shobha, one thing. I also said that you make adequate help arrangement at home.
Yes.
So that not only that family's need of care are being taken care of, your need of care is also being taken care of. That is also very important for a working woman to perform. Because all those needs are there. Physical needs, emotional, biology, all those needs can be taken care of by women, somebody to take care of the family's needs and to your needs also. That's also very, very important.
Very important. That is also very, because
and I said that you please overcome your fears of privacy, overcome your fears of safety, security, and have an open, be generous to your helps, and they'll be generous towards you.
Right. Very valuable. I missed that, but very valuable. Like I missed to mention that, but very valuable point to add on to it. And it's a fruitful session, Jyotika. I would love to call you again whenever you have time on some other subject touching on the issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity, Shobha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody to be part of it.